Now, bringing you the very best in New Hampshire-based local music on IPMNation.com and 100.1 The Planet, this is Local Outbreak. Everybody, welcome to this week's edition of Local Outbreak on IPM Nation and 100.1 The Planet. Matt Connarton from IPMNation.com here with you. And as we do most weeks, I bring you some new music, some great New Hampshire-based music. Sometimes we deviate from that a little bit. You know, last week we talked with DJ Reckless, and that was mostly a talking episode, although I did play some of one of his mixes at the end. So sometimes we deviate from the format a little bit, and we're actually going to do that again this week. So here's the deal. So Local Outbreak has been on 100.1 The Planet for 12 years now. Now, I have to correct something that I've been saying on the air that I realized when I was preparing for this week's show was incorrect. I had been saying that it had been 12 years as of December, so December 2021. That was wrong. Turns out it's actually 12 years as of January 23rd, 2010. So I was off by a month. But yes, so it has been 12 years. Just I was just off a little bit. But I'll tell you how I arrived at that. In a moment, I'll tell you how I arrived at that realization. But, you know, in feeling nostalgic, I suppose, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me to do this at the 10-year mark, you know, because people like round numbers and, you know, 10 years seems so significant, but I just kind of kept doing the show as normal. So here we are at 12 years, and I'm doing this whole nostalgia trip. But this will be the last nostalgia show, and then next week we'll get back to, you know, I've got some interviews lined up and plenty of new music to feature. But if you're a regular listener of the show, you might remember that 2 weeks ago we did something special. First time ever on the show, I played an old interview. I wanted to answer for everyone a question that I often get from listeners and people in the scene. They'll ask me, Matt, do you have an all-time favorite interview that you've done on Local Outbreak? And the answer is yes. And so I replayed on the show. I gave it a brief introduction, but we traveled back in time and I replayed my interview with Airtight, which is a personal favorite of mine because there was a lot of humor in it and it was just a lot of fun and it was unique. Never an episode of Local Outbreak like it before or since. So the other question that I get a lot, and we'll kind of answer that this week, is people ask me, sometimes they ask me kind of broadly, how did I get into radio? But more specifically, people will often ask me, how did I get started on Local Outbreak? And I have an answer for you. I mean, the question about how I got into radio, that's a much longer story, and I won't bore you with that. But Local Outbreak specifically, here's what happened, and then I'm going to share something special with you. So, Local Outbreak was originally the brainchild of Annie Biello, who was the program director at 100.1 The Planet at the time. And she wanted to do a local show, and she was working with some local musicians like Jonas Sabatini from the band East is East. In fact, Jonas, I believe, created the original theme music for Local Outbreak. Not the theme that you hear now. We changed it up a couple of years ago, but the original theme, which you are going to hear in a few minutes. But so Annie was working with Jonas and the other members of East is East to launch Local Outbreak. She wanted to do something to support local music. And she also started working with a gentleman named Mike Laughlin. And Mike has been a great friend of mine for many, many years and is an extraordinarily talented musician. He's been in a lot of great bands in the area like Mantra and The Glorious Noise, and he's done some solo things, and he's probably done some other things I'm forgetting, and he's like me, he's been in a lot of bands. I think these days he mostly does a solo thing. But so Mike was actually the original host of Local Outbreak, because one of the questions I get when people ask me about how I got started on the show is, am I the original host? And the answer is no, but almost. And what I mean by that is I came in very, very early. Mike was the official host for the first couple of episodes, and then I ended up replacing him. Now, and by the way, it wasn't because of anything that Mike did wrong or there was no falling out or anything like that. The problem at the time, as I remember it, this was the only issue, was Annie really wanted the show to be a weekly show that aired on the planet. And Mike, because of his schedule and how busy he was at the time, wasn't really able to commit to that. So it was looking like it was going to be more like a monthly show or every 2 weeks, but there was no way there was going to be a weekly episode every week. Mike just couldn't do it. So what happened was, on episode 2 of Local Outbreak, a band was booked to appear on the show, or 2 members of the band. There were 3 members in the band at the time. One of the members couldn't make it, but the band was called Chemical Distance. And there were 3 guys in the band. Michael Halpley Pierce, or MHP as he's known to some folks in the area. Otto Kinzel, who's been in a million bands, both very talented guys. And the 3rd guy in the band was a bass player named Matt Connarton. And no, I'm not talking about my uncle, who is also Matt Connarton. I'm talking about me. So Otto wasn't able to make it to the interview, but Mike invited me and MHP to come and be interviewed and showcase the music that we were doing in the band Chemical Distance. By the way, I've been in a lot of bands, but Chemical Distance to this day remains the most unique and just interesting and original project that I've ever done. So, not necessarily my favorite. It's like trying to, if you're a parent, trying to pick one of your favorite kids, right? But it's special in the uniqueness of it. And so MHP and I, we traveled up to Laconia to be interviewed by my good friend Mike Laughlin for Local Outbreak. And, I hit it off with Annie, the program director. She was there as well. And, I had a lot of other connections in the scene. I've always been very active in the music scene, not only playing in bands, but on a business level. And it's funny, so many things for me have started this way in the business. I made a casual remark to Annie that if there was anything I could ever do to help with Local Outbreak, keep me in mind. I'd love to help out because I believe in the show. I love that you're supporting local music. I love that you're doing this. So if I can be of use to you in any way to promote the show, help you find great guests, whatever it may be, I wasn't pitching to be the host. The show had a host. That was Mike. But I was just throwing it out there. If you need help, I can help. Well, turned out Annie wanted a new host. Again, not because of any problem with Mike, but just Annie needed somebody who could do it every single week. And I said, I'm in. So apparently I impressed her. So, by the way, that's not the only show where that's ever happened. It's so weird. For example, I used to host a podcast called The Metal Classroom. I was a guest on the show, and the show needed a new host. So then they invited me to be the new host because they liked me. The old host was leaving. I said, okay, and I took over the show. You can still find that if you're curious. If you go to IPMNation.com and look up Metal Classroom, the show is there. Anyway, so and this has happened in other things too. Like I was in one of the first bands I was in. It all started with a casual comment I made to the guys in the band. Hey, if you ever need a bass player, I'd be interested. I like what you're doing. So my career has been littered with casual remarks that then turn into something. But my casual remark to Annie led to her inviting me to be the new host of Local Outbreak. And by the way, again, there was no weirdness about it. Mike didn't really have time for it anyway. He and I continued to work together on many things. We've never actually been in a band together, but on a business level, I've booked his various projects for many shows, and he's been a guest on the show where I've interviewed him many, many times. So everything is cool there. And if anything, I'm very grateful to Mike, because if Mike hadn't asked me, if he hadn't invited me to be a guest on the show, I probably wouldn't be sitting here doing this right now. So that's how it all began. So if you want to hear the very first episode of the show, well, I'm not in it, but I'm in episode number 2 and every episode after that. So what I'm going to share with you tonight, since I've been on this nostalgia trip, and like I said, next week we'll get back to the present and the future. But I want to share with you my first appearance on Local Outbreak when I was a guest. And I think this would be fun. This will be fun. And I'm still very proud, by the way, of the music that we made in that project, Chemical Distance. So without further ado, let's travel back in time to January 23rd, 2010, my first appearance ever on Local Outbreak on IPM Nation and 100.1 The Planet. Here we go.
Yet again on Local Outbreak here on the Planet 100.1. Nice to see you all again. See you all again. I always say see you all again because I'm used to saying that, but it's really hear you all again because I'm bad at this.
You're weird.
I'm very weird.
I see you.
You see me what?
In front of me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. We have 2 fantastic guests. I was kind of off in my own little worlds.
Oh, that's right.
As I usually am.
That's double of what we had last time.
Yeah. Once again, Jonas is here as well to keep things interesting, because he always does.
Something like that.
He has foreign objects in his hand as well, so he might be
object.
He might be injuring the guests.
Are we gonna have a wrestling match?
It actually looks kind of domestic to me.
Yeah, it could be domestic terrorism. You heard that right, people.
That's so metal.
You heard that right, domestic terrorism. It sounds like a metal band.
Yes,
domestic terrorism. Well, the people I'm talking to right here in this for the show this week is Mike Halpley Pierce and Matt Connarton of the band The Chemical Distance. And where are you guys located?
We're right in front of you, man. Can't you see us?
Aside from
Did we go through this?
Okay.
Pull out the map that says you are here on it so he knows.
I have a big arrow over my head.
In case you guys didn't...
The map is very self-aware.
I am blind. Just so the people know I'm blind. So therefore I don't see you.
Ah, that explains the soul patch.
Yes.
I'm sorry about all the blind jokes I made before we started the show. I didn't realize.
Well, it's okay. Ray Charles was talented too.
Two?
Already breaking into the Ray Charles jokes.
I don't know if we've established that you're talented yet, Mike, actually. I got to say.
I'm talented at one thing, and that's not for the air. And I'm not even sure what that's for. But
this is already sounding like an IPMNation.com.
Mom, I'm sorry, okay? Turn the radio off right now, please, Mom. Everybody else continue to listen. Thank you.
Well, let's get back to...
NPR.
Then I guess we can get right into the music stuff, which I guess is boring, but I like it, though. All right, so The Chemical Distance. How would you describe yourself, Chemical Distance? And what is the Chemical Distance, by the way? Is it a kilometer?
Oh, Mike can explain that. He actually researched it when he came. Mike actually is the one who came up with the name.
I was reading an article about how when you bring a memory up to mind, and then you think about it, and you kind of file it back away in your brain. Every time you do that, you change it. And so you think you're you're remembering things exactly as they happen, but the context that you remember them and then remember them again changes them. And that kind of got me thinking about just all about that one little synapse in your brain, that little chemical gap can change all of your perception of what really happened in your life. And so for a gag, I decided I would Google chemical distance before we came up with the band name. And I took all the different things that came up as hits, and we turned it into a song.
That is a very well thought out way of thinking about a title for a band.
I'm over analytical.
Most people, I mean, do you think the Strokes came up with that? Or the Hives?
Well, apparently the Goo Goo Dolls were walking down a road, and there was like a little toy doll, and one of the band members kicked the doll, and it went goo goo, and then they were like, Goo Goo Dolls.
I mean, arbitrary.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And I won't tell anyone their name.
So you guys, how long have you guys been around for?
Not very long. How long has it been?
6 months or so. It actually kind of started out as a solo project from the third member of our band, Otto Kinsel. He wanted to do an industrial album, but he didn't want to deal with vocals or lyrics. So he kind of tapped some vocalists to either write their own songs to his music, or he would write the words and they would sing them. And as it evolved, a live drummer got involved for a while. He had probably 5 different vocalists, including me. And he was doing all of his own bass, and we decided we kind of wanted to go forward with it as a project. He tapped Matt to do the bass and asked me if I would do vocals and lyrics full time for him, and that was probably really only 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long. In fact, originally it was supposed to be Otto's solo project, and in fact, the very first show that the three of us played, it was as Otto Kinsel. It was, his first solo, well, not his first show as a solo artist, actually, but the first show where the three of us were all together, where Mike and I were sort of backing him up for his set. And it was after that when Otto just kind of said, well, we should just make this into a real band. I feel weird being up there with you guys and presenting it as a solo project, when we've kind of established that we're going to continue to do this, the three of us together. So, and that's how we decided to make it into a real band, and Chemical Distance was born.
Is known as Otto the chief songwriter then?
Well, no, actually, Mike is.
Otto generally programs
musically,
the initial music. He's programmed all of the percussion so far, and he's led all the guitar. Some of the bass lines are his. Some of the bass lines are Matt's. Almost all of the lyrics of what we do in a show now are my lyrics. Pretty much anything that I sing is my own lyrics.
Well, for the remainder of the show as well, I'm also going to name Otto Bond. Is that okay?
Actually, we had Otto as a guest on a television show that I host every week called Norm's Psychic World, or co-host, I should say. And Norm, who gets everyone's name wrong, he kept calling him Ottawa.
Ottawa. Well, I'll
Yes.
call him Otto Bond or Auto Mechanic for the remainder of the show.
Auto
I'll
Mechanic
switch.
is good.
Because
What's wrong
that
with
sounds
Autobot?
musical.
Is that just too good?
Autobot? I'm not a fan of it. I was not a GoBot guy. I was a Transformer guy.
That was a Transformer, pal. You just proved your ignorance.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you did say that your music is not the kind of thing you wouldn't hear on the radio, so we're going to say F that.
What's funny about that is we're actually
Because
going to radio this month.
We're
but it's college radio.
we're gonna play one of your songs on the radio right now.
By popular
Okay.
demand.
So, which song? I'll let Mike discuss this first. Mike, which song should we listen to first off your album?
I think probably the biggest crowd pleaser we've got is the Carnival. It's the first song that we really all kind of sank into the groove together. And I'm sorry anybody out there who got their hopes up, but this is not a Natalie Merchant cover.
And this might be from Matt from your Brazilian influence, Carnival. The Carnival maybe came about this. So
Yes, and I try to apply that to the bass line, and I think you'll all hear it.
all right then, guys. The Chemical Distance. We're gonna play the song "The Carnival," and we'll be right back. Have a listen.
The planet.
Welcome to the Carnival. Marcus push and pull, eat until you're full. Welcome to the Midway Lights. All the smells and sights. Streets come out at night. Welcome to the promenade, to the big charade, to the one we made. Welcome to the underside, to the one we hide. Please enjoy the ride. Step into the Ferris wheel. Tell me how you feel. Can you tell what's real? See the people down below putting on a show like they don't even know. Going through the daily trials with the Sheraton Isles. You can see for miles. Wheels spinning round and round between sky and ground. Things are lost and found. Lost
It's like nobody sees how they rebound. One day they're lost and then they're found. And then they're lost, it's just the cost of counting on the dice we tossed. Of acting like we're in control. So easy passes pay the toll, but extra P's invincible. So welcome to the carnival. We'll go back down to earth. Haven't found your worth in this town of mirth. And the people say, welcoming the ground you trust. Look around you must see through all the dust. And the people say, wander through the circus tents. See through all the rents past the present tense. And the people say, freak shows and in-betweens. Fun truth and means what's behind the scenes. And the people say lots of things, and not many have any kind of truth that brings. And the proof it stings like the youth that swings. Hammers and slings, unspoken sings. Better get a set of crunches for your broken wings. Welcome to the carnival, need a bag of wool or a flagon full. Welcome to the food shanties, want some fried Twinkies, cotton candies. Welcome to the game of chance, wanna rouse to the dance, what a prize for romance. Welcome to the shell game, wanna sell your name, risk health or fame. How about a game for free, just you versus me, best 2 out of 3. How about a matinee, see the show, don't pay, stay and go today. How about a show and tell that you know so well you can stay a spell. How about a deafening sound that's bringing you back like a lost and found. Welcome to the carnival, get a bargain full, pat the coat, ride the bull. Welcome to the spell release, unsettled on east like a settling Greece. Welcome to the bales of hay, tales of today when tales went astray. Welcome to the here and now, where people take time to feed beer to a cow. Step into the bumper cars, don't go far, beware of permanent scars. Step into the roller coaster, new boaster, porch to hoster. Walk into the parking lot, hope you never ever ever forget what you got. Never forgot what you've lost and found, and never lose track of the sound of your feet on the ground. And people say lots of things, and not many have any kind of truth that rings. And the proof it stings like the heat that swings. Hammers and slings, the unspoken sings. Better get a set of crutches for your broken wings.
And welcome back. This is Back to the Planet's show, Local Outbreak here. We're here with the Chemical Distance in studio. Listen to the song The Carnival. Just actually was curious if you guys have only been around for like 6 months. I know, Matt, you've been in bands for a long time. Mm-hmm. What have you seen in the New Hampshire music scene, I guess you'd say, over the last decade? Have you noticed like any kind of what's been going on locally, and as far as the sound you've heard, the way clubs have treated music? What's the kind of way, how would you categorize what you've seen evolutionary-wise or reversed?
I think it's gotten a lot tougher. I think a lot of bands find that it's harder and harder to make money playing live shows, at least with original music. I think there's a lot of apathy. I think that apathy, though, unfortunately, is self-induced in the sense that I'm not saying that correctly. Let me start again. I think there's a lot of apathy, not so much among the would-be listeners or would-be fans of the original bands that are out there, but there's a lot of apathy among the bands themselves who don't understand what it takes. And it's funny because we were kind of talking off air about how, you know, we're marketing guys in this band, and we understand that you got to get out there and hustle and really sell your music. Hip-hop artists get it. You know, they get out there and they sell their CDs however they have to, out of the trunk of a car if they have to.
It's that hustler background.
Exactly. Yeah. There are, on the other hand, there's a lot of bands I know, rock bands, who, I mean, my God, it's incredible, but there are still people who actually think that you go out, the way you get big is you go out, you play a bunch of shows in a club, and as long as you do that and you really believe in your music, eventually some record company scout, as if they even exist anymore, is going to show up one night at the local bar.
There's no scouts anymore?
No.
Oh, next thing it's the Tooth Fairy, right?
But this mythical dude is going to show up, see you on stage, and hand you a record contract, and next week you're going to be flying out to L.A. to record your next 6 albums, and you're going to be a millionaire. And there's a lot of people who still think that way, people who should know better. There's also definitely some bands who get out there and hustle and understand social networking. You know, you got to utilize Facebook and all that, and who really understand how to push their stuff. And, you know, those are the bands that are getting successful. I manage a band called Synthetic Killing Unit, which is very industrial, kind of like Nine Inch Nails. And, you know, we approach it like a business, and we get online, and if you Google Synthetic Killing Unit, you're going to see a whole lot of stuff come up because we're working it. And we're starting to do the same thing with Chemical Distance, and hopefully we'll be playing some shows together. But that's what it takes. And, you know, a lot of bands are kind of too cool for that, and they don't want to do the marketing because if they do the marketing, they feel like they're selling out. But, you know,
that's paving the road.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to stay in the basement or, you know, just play a few gigs a year and make no money, that's fine. But, you know, you got to take it seriously. You got to treat it like a business and treat it like a career. A lot of bands want to go out and play and get drunk during their shows and wait for the mythical record company scout who's going to show up and give them their deal. If that's what you want to do, good luck to you, but it's not going to happen. So,
Matt Connarton, we have Dr. Dre holding on line 2.
I don't know if I answered your question. I don't know if that's the question you wanted me to answer, but I
Well, you gave me a good little a philosophical look at the state of music right now. I think, from what I've talked to friends of mine who've been playing in bands for a while, like the last 10 to 15 years even, they said the club scene, especially like in New Hampshire, is dead.
You know what?
Done.
You know what? Whenever I hear anyone talking about how bad the scene is, you know what they're really telling me as far as I'm concerned? What they're really saying is, I'm not rich and famous and successful, and I'm bitter about it, so I'm going to sit here and blame the scene. And the listeners can't see it, but I just did the air quotes. But that's
I can't
what
see it either
hear.
because I'm blind. But
I get whenever anyone initiates that conversation with me, and I hear it all the time, I have to find an excuse and walk away. It's so painful to even listen to. Oh, the scene is so bad. No one cares about the music. The scene. The scene is holding me down. It's the scene's fault. I can't even stand it. You know what? We work in a business where you have to crawl a mile just to gain an inch. That's how it's always been. That's how it always will be. And I just, this whole business about the scene is so terrible. It's crap. The scene is what you make it. Like life. Life is what you make it.
yeah, it's your Uncle Mike saying that's all a bunch of malarkey. All right, so Chemical Distance. We're going to play another one of your songs right now. I believe it's going to be the Red Queen's Race. Is there any story you want to quickly say behind that title?
Red Queen's Race comes from Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass, and there was a character named the Red Queen who had to run as fast as she could just to stay in one place.
That's amazing.
And that was kind of like what Matt was just talking about. Kind of it's a metaphor for life. Lewis Carroll was an amazing satirist. And
Very
he had a really
psychedelic.
interesting view of life. And so this is just sort of a song about a day in the life of just running as fast as you can just to make it to the next day.
All right, guys. The Chemical Distance here on the Planet 100.1.
Memories of golden days don't tarnish with age. We reinvent them every time they take the stage. Remembering as we're fighting through the everyday ways, pretending that we're heading for the golden days. 6 a.m. and I hear the alarm. I've no intention to mention, just keep me from harm. Another day made for pounding the street. Early hour, hit the shower, put some shoes on my feet. Hit repeat on the MP3 as I merge just a million other cars in me. FL Tunes plays again and again. He's a thinker, hit the blinker on the off-ramp man. Main Street looking up and down, wondering how the hell did I end up in this town? Where is the bridge to yesterday? I'm looking for tomorrow in a yesterday way. Memories of golden days don't tarnish with age. We reinvent them every time they take the stage.
remembering as we're fighting through the everyday ways, pretending that we're heading for the golden days. On the car, drop a quarter or two, my last few moments of freedom on the avenue. I'll punch the clock, cause what else can I do? Half a day is half a lifetime, but I'm making it through. Walking out as the evening creeps around the corner of another day I just can't keep. People I meet seem to see through me, only thinking of the places they would rather be. It's like they run the Red Queen's race, faster and faster just to stay in one place. I drive home glad it's over, but then I'll only have to do it all over again. Memories of the golden days don't tarnish with age. We reinvent them every time they take the stage, pretending that we're heading for the golden days. 6 a.m. and I hear the alarm.
Back here with the Chemical Distance here in the studio, and Jonas as well.
Howdy.
So the Chemical Distance, you guys, do you have any shows in the near future we can look into, we can come check you guys out at?
We're going to have a lot of stuff coming up. The first thing coming up that I definitely want to mention is on February 4th, we're going to be on a live television program called Discovering the Art of Talent, which is a terrible name for a television show, but we will be on it.
And it's a great show. Just a terrible
name.
name.
It's just a terrible name.
Terrible name for a great show as in a much better than a great name for a terrible show, right?
Yes. It's ultimately the quality of the show that is most important, although from a marketing standpoint, maybe not.
Well, what is the show about, and where is it?
It's a music program. We're going to perform and be interviewed, and it's a call-in show, so callers will be able to call in. It's on Channel 23 in Manchester, New Hampshire, and it airs at 10:30 a.m., 10:30 to noon, so it's in 90 minutes, and we're going to be on there February 4th live.
And that's Thursday.
That is a Thursday, yes.
It's a very interesting time schedule.
Kids should
right
stay
there.
home from school that day.
Maybe we'll have snow.
Yes.
It'll
Yes.
be fun.
But I do encourage
Snow in
truancy.
February?
Or playing
no.
hooky.
Yes.
Does anyone say playing hooky anymore?
I haven't heard that
I think it's called
expression in a
skipping.
long time. I think they just call it skipping now.
Nothing I love more than ambiguous philosophy.
So, when you say industrial music, what do you consider the core of industrial music? Like, what is your influence, and why do you consider industrial?
Well, the drums are all programmed. It's not a live drummer.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big factor in that.
Keyboards are also a big synth is a big piece of it, and some of it's live and some of it's pre-recorded. The majority of it's pre-recorded with the drum tracks. But we definitely take cues from early Depeche Mode, especially. I think is a big influence, and not trying to emulate them, but kind of take what they had as a mission statement as far as what you could do with electronic music and overcoming what a lot of people see as the limitations of it.
All
There's a
right.
lot of minimalistic views on what they did. That's what I always thought about Depeche Mode. They had it wasn't overdone with too much sound.
Sure.
It was kind of like a lot of space.
It was
between the music, so-
soundscaping.
Yeah.
There was a couple of bands that I was familiar with in the past, and what is the major difference between electro, quote unquote, and industrial? Because there was this one band called Random Feedback, which I considered like an adult contemporary version of industrial music. Because you had the synth drums in it, and you had the heavy synth effects on it, but it was always at a lower tempo, and it seemed like the songs didn't exactly have like a particular drive to them. It was kind of like if you took Gavin DeGraw and stuck him in 9 Inch Nails.
That would probably tick Trent Reznor off.
It probably would, but
I think a lot of people wanted to put Gavin DeGraw in 9 Inch Nails.
I don't know.
I think they want to do that. Have you ever... Random Feedback was huge in Belgium, weren't they? Getting back to the Chemical Distance. Well, I always like to ask guys random questions. I'm going to ask you guys some random questions. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. Wow, okay. Then what would be your death row meal?
My death row meal would be pizza with pepperoni and mushrooms.
Very
Extra cheese.
That's crazy.
If it's an
That's getting
option.
a little crazy.
Oh, for the record, I vehemently oppose the death penalty. It actually makes me angry. Mike?
You wouldn't have a choice in the matter at this point.
right.
I understand. I just had to get that in.
You're like,
I didn't want my answering the question to be misconstrued.
Well, I'm not
as-
supporting the death penalty. Matt.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
good.
I'm just saying.
I didn't think you
we're
would.
just saying that if in the case that you are on the death row.
Right.
And you really won't have much say about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand that, yes, but I'll be quite upset.
Yeah.
Regardless.
I'll visit you.
Also, the
But,
shackles.
I'll still eat the
the
pizza.
shackles would be quite upsetting as well. But,
Oh,
Good fodder for music, though.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yes, very inspiring.
I would have to say that I'm leaning more towards ossobuco, a big plate of ossobuco.
Now, educate me because I'm not familiar with the Japanese culinary arts. So,
Or Italian either, evidently.
It does sound Asian.
it does.
though, yes.
I'm not, any other country. As someone who's half Italian, I'm not aware of that.
Wow.
Good job,
Forget
Mr.
about it.
Laughlin. Good job.
Osso buco.
Yeah, it's
Are you kidding me?
It's braised veal shanks.
Osso. How do you spell that?
OSSO space BUOCO, I think. I don't know. I'm
I
German.
believe it's AU.
AU too.
Well then.
Sorry.
This has gotten aggressive.
My meds are not
It's
right.
like tiramisu. What part of Japan is that from?
I think it's by Kyoto. I think. Well, I just feel like I've learned something today that I am ignorant when it comes to both Italian and Japanese.
No, actually just Japanese now. Now you can at least fake it with Italian. You're like, oh, yeah, I love ossobuco. And people are like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Wow. Oh, I believe there probably is some food called ossobuco in Japan. I'm gonna guess. Okay. All right. Let's go with that.
But
So
it was
peop-
brought in by Italians.
So listeners in Japan.
Somebody Google it and call us
Ossobuco.
in.
Okay. Here you go. Personal Woodstock. Who'd be your headliner?
Kiss. Favorite band?
Chemical Distance.
Oh, how political! Come on now. Aside from yourself,
Now, is this with time constraints or with not time? Are we
you got,
talking-
they're doing a 50-minute set.
But it could be any. Could it be a band that no longer is a
They can be
functional
dead.
unit?
They can be
They
dead
can
too.
be dead.
It'd be Zeppelin.
Zeppelin,
No question about it.
Zeppelin, and Kiss. I agree with
Yeah.
Zeppelin.
We also want to remind people that for upcoming shows and any information about the band, including streaming music, downloadable music, lyrics, bad pictures of Mad and Drag, anything you might be interested in, can be found at www.chemicaldistance.com.
I think I look stunning in that sequin gown.
You should have shaved up a little better, buddy.
Maybe.
It was
I'm
actually.
with
You did look very good.
Thank you.
I agree with you. But then again, I'm blind,
Yes,
so
that's true.
I don't
yes.
know. I can't tell
Wrote a
you.
song about it. Want to hit go.
So we're going to hear another song from The Chemical Distance. Matt, this time, which song should we listen to?
Let's see. Let's play. Oh, let's do The Golden Child. What do you think? Golden
Sure.
Child? Yeah.
Is this based on the Eddie Murphy film?
No.
I've
Could have
never.
been. Loosely, no.
Yeah, no.
It's based on an exaggerated version of My Pathetic Life.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, like The Chemical Distance with The Golden Child on the planet.
It's the golden child from the golden state. There's no debate, cause I'm serving my rhymes up straight. And rhymes down silly while you slap around your willy. I'm getting illy, hot like chili while I puff a Philly. You're thinking really, he's revealing crazy stencils. A pen and not a pencil is my only utensil. Potentially, eventually, I'll be what I'm meant to be when I went MC. Attempt to freeze my flow, you don't know. I'm at 100 below, and I got hundreds to go. You need ear protection when I'm projecting in your direction. Catch an ear infection. Natural selection created my perfection. Aided me in my ascent, my resurrection. That was second story white kid, that's right, kid. You won't believe all the shite I did. Like Lucas, I flipped lids and got bids. Now I just push rocks through four-wheel skids. I'm thinking urban, drinking bourbon in a stinking turban. I sound suburban when I write the signs, there's no disturbing. Up on the curb and I'm weaving like a loon. Zoom, zoom, as a boom, boom, boom by your living room. Because you never know when I might lose control. But be aware that the driver of the mission is of a style of rhyme is so much more than clever. Your odds of success, kid, wanna know? Or whatever, I'm driven, I have to endeavor. Your odds of success, kid, wanna know? My old school ties and I just can't sever. Your odds of success, kid, wanna know? With the whole world with a month enough lever. Your odds of success, kid. You're crying livid, your timing's so terrific. You're out of
blows my mind like I was puffing on a spliffin. But step back from the dill stick and give me just a tick, tick, tick. I learned so much from Slick Rick, cause it's all about the fable. The Cain against the Abel, the range against the label, and the fighters against the table. The techniques in the stable, cause Diablo his beats like studs, and he's kicking out the suds. Fresh studs, see my DJ's in a three-piece suit. He don't toot and he don't pollute. He used to jog loot and clock over butte, and now he knocks boots and shocks new recruits. No Tuesdays with Maurice, I got Thursdays with B. When you just sip a first, if a little bit past 3, and we could hardly wait for Oktoberfest. I've been the palace with chalice like as we won't rest, and I confess I've transgressed. I've run with the best. I'm rubbing, filling them bubbles, no trouble, chasing the test. No lace in my vest. I'm spacey, but I'm kind of obsessed. You're stressing, guessing what next? I'm putting braille in the text. It's bumpy, my hubby's always lumpy. MCs are getting grumpy, saying listen, drops and tell me. But never fear, cause I'm putting everything in its place. I'm running at the front of the race. Style of rhyme is so much more than clever. Your odds of success, kid, want it now. Whatever, I'm driven, I have to endeavor. Your odds of success, kid, want it now. I old school ties that I just can't sever. Your odds of success, kid, want it now. I can lift the whole world, but the love enough never. Your odds of success, kid. The style of rhyme is so much more than clever. Well, whatever, I'm driven, I have to endeavor. I got old school ties that I just can't sever. Lift the whole world, but the love enough never. It's the golden child with the style so wild. You say he's putting out the music, I should keep on file and keep on tap. Even if you're not a fan of rap, I got the Velcro shovels making toes just tap. And brains just say, I dig the living way. You play, I say, I ran to sign your autographs today. Because I'm easy, all up over these beats. From 808 to get fiddle beat box in the streets. As we retreat in a luxury suite, our cool be cool, helping me beat the heat. The alchemy of turning vinyl into platinum. Because me, I see the final outcome. The rhythm is low, it's gonna rise like cream. Like Ron O'Neal, it's the American dream. No big screen, no pounds of kind. Just volume full of quality that's hard to find. Not designed for the FM dial. I'm rhyming that you might enjoy the style for a while. I took the bay and brought it to the lakes. Saying what I want and making no mistakes. I ranks competitions like last year's league. I'm making an impression like the rhythm of Steve's. My man G's will show you to the door and show you what the exit sign is for. Battle rhyme is so much more than clever. Odds of success, kid, want it now. Whatever, I'm driven, I have to endeavor. Your odds of success, kid, I want it now. Old school ties that I just can't sever. Your odds of success, kid, want it now. I lift the whole world with a love enough lever. Your odds of success, kid. My style of rhyme is so much more than clever. Odds of success, kid, want it now. Whatever, I'm driven, I have to endeavor. Your odds of success, kid, want it now. Old school ties that I just can't sever. Your odds of success, kid, want it now. I can lift the whole world with a love enough lever. Your odds of success, kid. My DJ's in a three-piece suit.
Well, welcome back for the final segment here of a local outbreak here with Mike Halpy Pierce. And
Close.
did I get it?
Close enough.
Halpley Pierce.
There's a lot of consonants in
Mike Halpley Pierce. I want to get it right. And Matt Connarton of the band The Chemical Distance. They've only been around for 6 months, but hopefully you'll see them soon. Actually, you guys can tell me where will we be seeing you guys soon? Some club dates you guys got.
Well, we'll run through them quick, but I'll remind everyone, too, chemicaldistance.com is our very snazzy website, very user-friendly. Are
you guys on the MySpace and the Facebook?
We have those as well.
And the Reverb Nation and the Famecast.
Yes, and the IPMNation.com. But, check us out February 4th. If you're in the Manchester area, turn on Channel 23 at 10:30 a.m. to see us perform live. Actually, it'll be our second time on that show.
You guys will be performing on TV?
We will be performing and taking listener questions, or viewer questions,
And abuse.
I should say.
A rock band performing at 10:30 a.m.
Yes.
We practice most Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock.
We actually
strangely
practice.
enough.
Yeah,
Our
we do.
phones don't ring. Our wives don't bother us. It's like 2.5 hours of just us time.
Let's
It's awesome.
let's first of all let these people know this. Matt is a bachelor.
That's right.
So
Otto and
let's
Mike
not-
are married. Ladies,
Let's just,
I am single.
yes.
He also has one leg, just to keep it in mind.
Yes.
But it
it's
is removable.
Sexy.
It is shapely.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank
It
you.
would make a nice lamp.
Oh. February 19th will be at Gemstones in Lowell, Massachusetts at 8 p.m. with Mortuus Ortis, Daniel Willett, and Typhus. February 25th will be at the Jump Off in Revere. That's an all-ages show. It's at 8 p.m. This one's I'm excited about. March. I have a hard time saying this. March 6th.
March 6th.
Thank you. I have a hard time with that.
Anytime.
3-6.
Yes. 3-6. Thank you.
3-6s.
3-6, 2010. Manch Vegas Roller Girls event at the Newington Roller Rink. I'm not sure what time that starts, but go to chemicaldistance.com. It's on there. So we'll be with the Manch Vegas Roller Girls.
Fantastic. And Matt, you can also mention, I know that you have your own show, both on television, correct, and on the radio.
Yes. Again, if you're in Manchester, turn on Channel 23 every Wednesday morning from 10 to noon. I'm the co-host of Norm's Psychic World, and you can also hear the radio version of that on IPMNation.com. And what else did you mention in that question? I'm sorry.
So you have a radio show and a television show?
Yes. Well, we have several radio shows. IPMNation.com is an internet radio station that my company, Impact Player Music, operates, and it's internet radio, so it's completely uncensored, so you can turn that on and hear all kinds of offensive and upsetting things on our talk shows and all kinds of great music.
I love that combination.
You can hear some of Mike Laughlin's music on there, actually.
Fantastic. I have never heard my own music on the radio.
You can hear it on IPMNation.com.
And, as well, the Planet, Local Outbreak, has their own website. Jonas, what is our web address?
MySpace.com/Local Outbreak. We're also on WPNHFM.com. And we have a Gmail address of localoutbreak@gmail.com.
Well, we all got our plugs in. That's fantastic.
Plugs? Okay. There's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I have a question about the whole psychic co-host show thing.
Yes.
He already knows what you're going to ask him, actually.
I probably.
But for the benefit of the listeners, go ahead.
All right. Is it like the beginning of Ghostbusters 2 with Bill Murray, that sort of a psychic show?
I like the black one.
I don't actually. It's been so long since I've seen Ghostbusters 2. Basically, it's 2 hours of people call in and Norm does psychic readings.
Oh.
My role on the show as his co-host is to sort of be the sarcastic, smart bottom who makes a lot of pithy comments. And sometimes people get angry at me, but it's all very entertaining.
You're the Andy Richter to his Conan O'Brien.
Yes, exactly.
I actually know this little secret about Matt as well. I know Matt might not want this exposed, but maybe he does want to expose that Matt is a certified hypnotist.
Yes, I do want that exposed, actually. Thank you.
Well, expose away.
I do a lot of stop smoking sessions with people, weight loss, stress reduction. I do private sessions. I also do stage shows.
We start coughing.
I do stage hypnosis. Sometimes I open for rock bands doing stage hypnosis.
I think it's a fantastic
You
idea,
will
by the way.
like this next band.
Yes.
You
always
will
believe
give
that.
us
I always
money.
believe that. I've always believed in I like stage shows that are not just rock shows that are not just rock bands. I'd like to have stand-up comedians and jugglers and sword swallowers, which brings me to an interesting question. How does one practice sword swallowing?
I've actually wondered that myself. I'm not a sword swallower.
You'd have to ask a sword, actually, I think. I'm not telling.
I've tried to, but they won't talk back.
Are they already in your throat at that point?
You have to start with something smaller first, like a lightsaber.
Maybe a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Is that what you do? I don't know. It's always bothered me. How does one start sword swallowing? Well, Mike and Matt, I think we might be at the end of the show here. I want to play another song though by you guys. Which one should we play this time? Should we play the song "Old Man"?
We'd like to play Old Man.
It's an
You'd
old card
probably
game.
like to play Old Man.
Yes. So for those of you out there listening on the planet, this is Local Outbreak. This is Mike and Jonas once again saying hello and good night.
night.
With Mike and Matt here from the Chemical Distance, we'll say good evening, enjoy the songs, keep listening, and support local music.
And thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. It's been great.
Fantastic. Cheers, guys. Bye.
The Planet.
This is not a tale of remorse, more like the cart in front of the horse. Retrospect, of course, gives more accurate reports. Out of sorts with no suggestions, brain contorts with loaded questions. When should I shed my skin? When should I re-begin? How can I reinvent? What is my real intent? But silence answers me, and as I walk, I see.
An old man passes by, he says, boy, you look so old. The look in your eyes, it tells me you're high once again. As angels descend, I know you have been turning your back on me. As that old man turns around, I see that's me, it's really me.
story, different page. Try to find a way to channel the rage. Stand on stage, try to act my age. Can't tie me down with track to gauge. At the same time, don't leave me alone. The hands of temptation have grown. They make a throne. I fit so well and only time will tell.
Let me be. I'm all alone in this odyssey. It's time to go. I'll find my own way. Death or ecstasy. Ye sinners take me, accept and break me. I can't trust you no more. As that old man turned around and said, boy, you look so old.
Reflection looks so great. Getting older every day. Looking forward and behind. It's just my footprints that I find.
Looking old as the drama unfolds. Try to hold on to the things I was told. Balanced with the weight on my back. I need an Atlas backpack, but what I lack I'll find. Regardless what was designed, I'll orchestrate this plot to be, I think, or not.
An old man passes by. He says, boy, you look so old. The look in your eye, it tells me you're high once again. As angels ascend, I know you have been turning your back